G'day guys and welcome back to AdosTheGreat YouTube channel. So guys, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you a preview and then my predictions for game one of the 2025 State of Origin series. Very excited to jump in and discuss. It is an awesome event on the rugby league calendar, one of the best. And being a Maroon supporter, obviously I've loved the past, but we've got to build something new in the future, and I think this year is the year we might do it. So before we get into the predictions, guys, we're going to go through both team lists and then discuss my thoughts on each team list, and then we'll jump into some predictions. So first and foremost, we've got the Queensland Maroons. So we'll go through each position. Callum Ponga at fullback. Obviously, look, if Reece Walsh was fit, I actually probably would have gone with Reece Walsh over Ponga, just with how Ponga is playing this year. I think he's been a little bit disappointing. I also think you probably could have gone with Hammer at fullback, but realistically, you got to leave Hammer in the centres. Defensively, he's an incredible centre. So KP is probably our best option for fullback outside of the injured Reece Walsh. So understand the pick there, and he's done a job for Queensland before. I just don't think he's in all the best form for the Knights at the moment. All right, the wingers Xavier Coates and Valentine Holmes. I was a little bit surprised to see Holmes named on the wing. Obviously, there is a reason to that, and we will discuss soon. But look, I don't mind these picks. I think Xavier Coates, he had to be there. He's the informed winger in the NRL at the moment, in my opinion. And I'm definitely happy to have him in the squad. All right, the centres. Robert Toya to make his debut. I actually really like this. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, is this the right call to make? But he's a big-bodied centre. Look, Latrell probably will give him hell in this one, but I do think Rob can hold his own. And I think he's actually going to have a really good game for us. And shout out to him for making his debut. All right, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, obviously the other centre. We discussed him a little bit when talking about Callum Ponga, so I won't go too much more into it. The halves come as a package deal, so I will talk about them together. Cameron Munster, Daly Cherry Evans, both definitely should be there. I've got no issues with that. I've heard some people say Tom Dearden should have got the number 7 jersey. I disagree. DCE, he's just a footy encyclopedia. He understands the game. He knows the game. He's been there. He's done it before. I've got all the faith in DCE to get a job done for the Maroons. The front rowers, Mo Fotuaika and Tino Fa'asua-Malawi. Again, I think these two are fine. However, I probably would have gone with Big Red up in the front row. I love Mo. I think Mo is a great player, but I think Corey Horsburgh's done enough to get into this squad. So I feel like he got a little bit hard done by, but it is what it is. That is our front row pairing, and obviously Tino had to be there. He wasn't there last year. Same with Cam Munster as well. He's there this year, and I really do think that will make a massive difference. The number 9, Harry Grant. Shifty as always, he's got to be there. He's carrying a little bit of an injury concern, but I reckon he'll be pretty right to go in this one. So he came back not like this weekend, just gone the weekend before. And I know he'll do a job for us as he always does. Second row is Ruben Cotter and Jeremiah Nanai. I actually think there'll be a late change and Cotter will move to the bench. Both for Moore will start in the second row. That's just how I see it happening. Happy with both these two though. If Cotter and Nanai start together, no issues with that. They're both incredible footballers and they will both do a job for us regardless. Paddy Carrigan is the number 13. Look, you can interchange Tino and Carrigan for front row and lock. It doesn't matter who you have in what position. Both of these players are professionals, leaders, and they will do a job. All right, the bench, Tom Dearden. I probably would have had Kurt Mann over Dearden just because Mann offers, in my opinion, a little bit more. Similar to Connor Watson. I actually think you probably could have fit both of these players in the 17, but obviously Tommy Dearden got the nod over him. And look, I know Tom will do a job wherever he's needed. He will fill a role for us, but I just think Kurt Mann can fill the backs, can fill the forwards. He can jump into dummy half. He can jump into the halves. Like there's a lot of positions that he could be utilised in. But look, as I said, I'm happy with Tom Din. I know he'll do a job for us. So it is what it is. Lindsay Collins in the number 15 jersey, love that. I definitely think he should have been in there. He was in my 17-man squad. I know a lot of people left him out, probably because he was injured, but I just think he is a competitor. He was incredible for us last year. He's incredible for us whenever he puts a jersey on, so he's got to be in there. And then we've spoken a bit about Beau Fermor. I do think he will start. Great player, and he deserves a shot too, so shout out to him for being on debut. Another debutant is Trent Liero. I love this. Look, I was a little bit hesitant to pick him after that game against the Raiders at Magic Round, but now I think I think it's the right call from Billy. I really do. So I'm happy with that. Then you've obviously got Jesse Arthurs and Fini Fuiaki in the extended squad, which shout out to them. They deserve to be there to be around the squad and all that good stuff. All right. Let's talk about the Blues now. So the Blues team list: Dylan Edwards at fullback. Look, I think it's the right call to put Edwards at fullback, despite the fact that Teddy is having a better season. The Blues really need to look towards the future now, and I think Dylan Edwards is the right call for that. Especially when you've dropped. Well, Jake was always. I don't think Jake Trebojevic was going to get there. So you dropped your captain last year. It's not a good look to bring your captain from the series before back. So I've got no issues with them going with Dylan Edwards. I think Teddy's in better form as well. So as a Queenslander, that works in my favour. But look, speaking unbiasedly, I think Dylan Edwards for the Blues is definitely the right call. I'm assuming Brian Tato and Latrell Mitchell will team up on the left edge, and Critter and Lomax will team up on the right edge. That's how I think it'll happen. So Brian Tato and Latrell Mitchell, if they're together, that terrifies me as a Queenslander. I think both these two, they're big-bodied players, and they are going to absolutely terrorise Robert Toya. Oh my God. But I think Toya, as I said, I think he will hold his own. Stephen Crichton and Zach Lomax on the other side. Lomax for the height, and Critter is just one of the best defensive centres in the NRL. We'll get to their 18th man soon as well, but far out. Critter is such a good player, man. All right, the halves, Mitch Moses and Nathan Cleary. As a Queenslander, putting my bias hat back on, I love this. I really do, because we don't know what we're going to get from these two. They're going to have to share the 7 role, in my opinion. Are they going to clash? I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty around these two playing together. If they went Luai and Cleary, I actually would have been a little bit more nervous, but credit to them, man. These two are, in my opinion, the best option in terms of, class and players they could pick. But in terms of combinations and stuff, I would be more scared of Jerome Luai, and I think Jerome Luai was probably the right option with the amount of Penrith and ex-Penrith players in this team. I do think that they probably should have gone with Jerome, but putting my bias hat back on, I actually like the Moses and Cleary combo for Queensland. All right, the front rowers are Mitch Barnett and Payne Haas. Crazy that Terrell May did not get featured in this squad at all. Barnett's a great player. He really is. And, if I was a selector, he would have been in my 17, 1,000%. But, at the end of the day, it's a night, and I would prefer a Mitch Barnett over Terrell May as a Queenslander, 100%. But don't get me wrong, Mitch Barnett is still a scary prospect. I just think Terrell May, he's an 80-minute forward. He's a battler. He doesn't miss many tackles. I'm glad they didn't pick him, put it that way. And then obviously you got Payne Haas. We don't need to talk about Payne Haas. We know he is the best forward by far in the NRL. Reece Robson in the number 9. I actually think Wade Egan was a little bit hard done by here. Understand Reece has been there before. He's done a job. That's fine. But Wade Egan, in my opinion, is the in-form and the most consistent hooker in the NRL at the moment. So if I was a selector, I probably would have gone Wade Egan, to be honest. The second row was Liam Martin, Angus Crichton. They've been there before. They've done a job. We know what we can expect from them. So, I think the Blues have picked the right choice there in those two. Isaiah Yeo, the lock, the captain. He gets his captaincy for the Blues. He captained Australia, did a great job there. He obviously captains his club. He is an incredible footballer. I hate to say it because I hate the Blues, but you can't hate Isaiah Yeo. The bench will be made up of Connor Watson, who scares the hell out of me because he can fill in the forwards, he can fill in the backs, he can fill in the halves, he can fill in at dummy half. He can do anything, this man. And this is why I wanted the Maroons to select Kurt Mann somewhere in the team, because he offers a similar role to what Connor does. So to combat Connor, I would have loved for the Maroons to select Kurt Mann, but it is what it is. Spencer Leniu, another player that scares me coming off the bench. That intensity is going to be crazy. We don't really have a player outside of Mo Fotuaika that matches that intensity, especially coming off the bench. So that does scare me a little bit. Another player that scares me is Hudson Young. It's going to be crazy seeing. So obviously, I think Liam Martin will probably spend a bit of time in the front row, and I think Hudson Young will come on in the second row at some point for Liam Martin. So Hudson Young off the bench, firing, ready to go. That does worry me. Max King as well. Shout out to Max King. It's been a long journey for him, considering medically retiring a couple of years ago, I believe. So, incredible stuff for him. Like, I'm not a religious man, but, to believe and have all that and have things, go right for you, obviously that does ignite belief even more. So credit to him, man. He's worked hard to get to where he is today, and he deserves this opportunity. All right, we're not going to talk about Stefano. We're not going to talk about Hamole. The only player I'm going to discuss here is Campbell Graham. Not because I don't think we need to talk about the other two. I don't think they'll feature anywhere in this team. Campbell Graham, the 18th man, and a few little rumours that he could come in for Stephen Crichton. And if he did, wow. Man, as a Queenslander, I'd be scared of that too, because I think Stephen Crichton's the best defensive centre in the comp. Campbell Graham would have to be close to second. He is incredible, man. Stretch is such a good player. Being a Rabbitohs supporter, I get to see Campbell Graham play very closely every single week. He's one of my favourite players in the entire NRL. So, I hope he does get his debut at some point this year, because, man, does he deserve it. Does Stretch deserve a debut? He's a battler. He works hard, and I hope he does eventually get that nod for the Blues. All right, we've spoken about the team list. Let's get into predictions. So, obviously, you can see this little graph up here. So, we will discuss. First and foremost, we'll discuss the anytime try scorers. So I'll have 2 anytime try scorers. I'll then give you the match result, what I think the score line will be, so a margin. And I'll also give you the final score, in my opinion, as well. And then I'll give you my player of the match, and then a player I think was the best, or I think will be the best for the other team. So, first and foremost, an anytime try scorer for both teams. For the Maroons, I'm going with Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. So, Hammer, I think he deserves, I think he will score a try. He seems to always be around that ball. I reckon that, we might put a little kick in for him, a Cherry Evans or a Munster, a little grubber in. That's how I see the Hammer try coming through, is off a little grubber. He'll be there. He'll put that ball down. That'll be my try scorer there for the Queenslanders. For the Blues, I can't say Zach Lomax won't score, because I generally do think he is an anytime try scorer in this one. I think he is 1,000% going to get his hands around that ball up high and cross somewhere. He's going to be a aerial threat, and I'm very confident Zach Lomax does cross for the Blues. All right, let's talk about scorelines. So, obviously, I'm going to back in my Maroons here. I do think they get the job done. I think game 1 at Suncorp will be a very close game. I think it'll be, 1 to 2 tries, maybe 3 each side. I'm going to go with 3, to be honest. I'm going to go 3 tries each. I'm going to say the Blues miss 1 kick, and I'm going to say Queensland get all theirs. So my score prediction is Queensland to win 18 points to 16. I'm very confident the Maroons can win this one. I think we're going to have a really good series. Bringing back Tino, bringing back Cam Munster, both returning from injury. They didn't feature last year. Obviously, that's when they were injured, not recently. But yeah, last season they didn't. They didn't play. So I'm very confident that with these two back, we can absolutely take at least game one, and I do think we're in a good position to win the series. All right, my player of the game for the Blues, and then I'll give you my overall player of the game for the Maroons. So for the Blues, I'm going with Nathan Cleary. And for my overall player of the game, I'm going Tino Fa'asua-Malawi. I think both these players are going to have major impacts on their team, and I just think we're going to see like a massive masterclass in the forward pack here from Tino. I reckon he goes close to 80, maybe 65 to 70 minutes in this one. I'm expecting 200 meters, probably 30 to 40 tackles. And I wouldn't be surprised if he crossed over for a try as well. I think he's in for a massive game. And for Cleary, first game back, he's got a lot to prove because Moses won it last year. He took the series. It was, technically his jersey to lose. Cleary being back, they will now share the Blues jersey, and I think they will both play a part in the 7 role. But Cleary, I think he'll be right up there for the player of the game for the Blues. I think he's definitely got to be in the conversation at least anyway. So that's my predictions. Hammer and Glomax to score anytime. Queensland to win 18-16. Player of the game for game one is Tino, and the top player for the Blues, Nathan Cleary. That is my predictions, guys. Let me know yours down below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Enjoy your State of Origin footy. We're only 2 days away. I can't wait. And up the mighty Maroons. Also, guys, if you are new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the growth of the channel and all that good stuff. I wouldn't be here without you guys, so thank you so much for your support. And as always, my friends, I will see you in the next one. Thanks, legends.